صاحب الجلالة الهاشمية الملك عبد الله الثاني بن الحسين المعظم. His Majesty King Abdullah II ibn al-Hussein. Your Majesty King Abdullah ibn al-Hussein, I have the distinct honor and privilege of welcoming you today to the closing session of the MENA ICT Forum 2013, the region's premier event for the information and communications technology sector. I thank Your Majesty for your long-standing vision, your support, and your dedication to this crucial sector that will create opportunities for all Jordanians and for all of the people of the Middle East and North Africa in the long run, and for gracing us with your royal patronage. For the past 2 days, Your Majesty, we have been addressing where the region's ICT industry stands today, our success stories to date, what we've learned from these experiences, and the need to realize and unlock value from this sector, and what our strategic imperatives are to move forward and align ourselves, indeed, to lead the world. We looked at how global trends like big data, cloud computing, and mobility are transforming sectors such as government, health, education, women, energy, and e-commerce. We then considered the key enablers needed to accelerate Arab and regional ICT development, including employment, intellectual property, incubation and outsourcing, gaming, internet freedom and governance, and investment and entrepreneurship. The recurring theme, Your Majesty, is that every sector with its business leaders, educators, and officials must get involved. And some of our leading attendees will shortly present to Your Majesty and our audience the key findings and action points from our working sessions. With this, we would like to share with Your Majesty and our guests today a short video that gives a more visual representation of our region's ICT sector.
With emerging technologies, the regional and global business landscape has changed beyond all recognition. In the year 2000, 2 million people in the MENA region used the internet. This year, that 2 million will reach 82 million. 65.4 million internet users speak Arabic. That's an increase of 2,500%. Yeah, that's right, 2,500%. The Arab world has had huge successes and gained some valuable experience in the ICT field. Let's celebrate and highlight some of these successes. This year's forum is entitled Arab ICT Spring, Realizing Potential. Both globally and regionally, ICT has become an integral part of education, health, government, energy and smart cities, transportation along with aviation, and is emerging in many other sectors. We've brought you together with the MENA ICT Forum, MENA ICT Expo, Invest in ICT, business matching sessions, and other networking events. It's truly the place to be for ICT vision, knowledge, and business. By attending MENA ICT Forum 2013, you have become part of a vision platform that connects leaders and companies. Together, we can contribute to the Middle East and North Africa's continued success in the ICT sector and continue to establish Jordan as the gateway and hub of ICT in the Arab world. Let's take a look at the international landscape. The visions, the changes, the next big thing. Booz & Company highlight the word digitization. It takes us full circle, shifting power from companies, establishments, and authorities to the social digital individual. For example, on travel phenomenon TripAdvisor, 50 million individuals have submitted their thoughts and opinions. Companies can now choose from 150 million resumes online on monster.com. That is the same amount of resumes as the entire US workforce. The same service is available here in the MENA region through Akhtabut and Bait.com. The most popular device for sharing photos on Instagram and Flickr is now the iPhone, mostly of cats, unfortunately. Similarly, sites in the MENA region like Diwanji and Jiran let us share our pictures. 3 out of 5 children aged under 2 now play with a mobile device, That's before they're even speaking a full sentence. Almost half of all consumers in the UAE and Kuwait shop online. From His Majesty King Abdullah's vision 12 years ago, we've come a long way.
Our vision here is very simple. We wanted to succeed because we want to be on that boat. We know that this is the future. We know that this is the growth for our country. So whatever fancy slogans you hear and whatever people will tell you about what we want to do in IT in Jordan, we're serious because this is our #1 chance to get Jordan to be a very special country in this part of the world. And I believe we can do it.
MENA mobile broadband is now bigger than fixed broadband. 40% of mobile broadband users have paid to download an app. Jordan's internet penetration has increased dramatically to 63% right now. Jordan leads the ICT race by far in the Levant region. Our revenue increased to 2.5 billion in 2012. Jordan ranked #1 in the number of technology investments in the Middle East in 2011. And here is one of our latest innovations. Oasis 500 is about investing in 500 startups in 5 years. Oasis 500 includes entrepreneurship training, mentorship guidance, incubation, and exposure. The goal is to accelerate the launch of startup companies, which will create an incentive for aspiring entrepreneurs and generate job opportunities. Have a look at some of the success stories in just 2 years. The King Abdullah II Fund for Development App Challenge is a school student-centered competition for young Jordanians to explore and engage in new emerging technologies. Each year, students are presented a challenge prior to training on app design and development, after which each team then builds an app that is compatible with new devices. These young Jordanians represent the talent that will power Jordan's future. Welcome to Iman 1, Jordan's one and only supercomputer. The goal of Iman 1 was to achieve supercomputing power within the most economical parameters. This goal was achieved by building Iman 1 using 2,260 PlayStation 3 devices. Iman 1 project embodies the Jordanian spirit, accomplishing great things with limited resources and making the impossible possible. Let's celebrate the past, but more importantly, step together once more into the future. Thanks for attending MENA ICT Forum 2013. Welcome to the future.
Indeed. Indeed, welcome to the future. And speaking of the future, Your Majesty, our distinguished guests, before we move to our closing panel, we would like to take a moment to announce a number of initiatives and partnerships that have emerged from MENA ICT Forum 2013. #1, Intaj and the All World Network have partnered to announce the pioneering ranking for fast growth ICT companies in the MENA region. We've announced the launch as well of the Talal Abu Ghazali Encyclopedia, Tagipedia.org, a general Arabic digital encyclopedia. The Jordanian government and Cisco have rolled out their telehealth network. The introduction of the Iman 1 supercomputer, Jordan's first and fastest. Intaj and Endeavor highlight the success of their Invest in ICT matchmaking event, bringing together more than 40 regional companies and 40 Arab and international investors. The International Finance Corporation partners with Intaj to help improve the skills of young ICT workers in Jordan. Orange announces its international money transfer mobile payment solution. Oasis 500 announces its Make IT program under its new partnership with Microsoft. IJMA launches the first regional women's alliance for its virtual exchange, WAVE. IJMA, the Arab ICT organization, announces its declaration of internet freedom. Omnia announces its the Plug and Play Center announced a partnership to bridge Jordan to Silicon Valley, as well as announcing a new IP Gateway and Security Operations Center, launching its LTE service, and a partnership with Skype. Please, a round of applause for all these fantastic initiatives and partnerships, which we hope will bring good to our region's sector. And now, Your Majesty, I move to our closing panel, which will focus on presenting our findings and recommended actions. I'm pleased to invite Dr. Usama Fayyad, our moderator for this session, Executive Chairman of Oasis 500, to the stage. I would also like to invite our panelists, Ray Rivera, White House presidential appointee and co-founder of Democracy.com, Mr. Keith Teer, co-founder of TechCrunch, His Excellency Marwan Joma, former Minister of ICT in Jordan and the chairman of KINS, and His Excellency Mr. Karim Qawar, former ambassador of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to the U.S., and the co-founder and first chairman of Intaj. Welcome. So, welcome everyone to our closing session. We are going to keep it very brief and to the point. Within 20 minutes, we hope to achieve a difficult task, which is basically summarize all of our impressions of what we saw here, as well as our outline of the opportunities that will hopefully develop into potentially an agenda for what Jordan and the region needs to do in ICT. With that, I've decided to exercise my right as moderator here and ask our panelists only 2 questions. The first question is a question about what is lacking. So, gentlemen, from all your interactions in this conference, from everything you saw from the opening session till now, I would like you to focus only on the top 1 or 2 items that you think are lacking in the ICT ecosystem in the region as you see it. This is not Jordan specific, but generally ICT. And I would like to start by calling on Keith, coming here from the US and UK originally. What is lacking, Keith?
You know, I've been on a very rapid learning cycle in 2 days. This is my first visit not only to Jordan, but to the Middle East. So I want to start by saying that whatever I'm about to say, you're allowed to disagree with based on my innocence and inexperience. Having said that, you know, I was most reminded here about my own life. I left the UK in 1996 because of the limits in the UK for an entrepreneur at that time. And I left as a successful entrepreneur. I had founded EasyNet, which is now a very large pan-European internet service provider in, I think, 29 countries. It had done an IPO on the AIM exchange in London, later to the full exchange, and had done so without ever raising venture capital because we were not able to. His Majesty may notice that I have a Yorkshire accent. At that time in England, it wasn't easy for a Yorkshireman to receive venture capital. And I didn't. And we built EasyNet from revenue. I must confess we didn't always pay our bills on time in order to do that, but we did eventually pay them. And we took the company public. And I spent 6 months in the United States during that period and was treated very differently there than I was treated in the UK, my home country, and decided to leave and go to the US, and I've lived there ever since. I have 3 young boys. They're American. They think their father has a strange accent. And I look around, and I've met the people from Tech Tuesday. I've met with Karim. I met Abdul Malek Al-Jaber in Germany, which is why I ended up coming in here. And I come to the conclusion that Jordan is in a very similar historical moment to the moment I was in the UK in 1996. There's quite a lot of incubators. There's quite a bit of angel investment. And then there's a big cliff. It's very hard for even successful entrepreneurs to retain their momentum. And in the context of the US changing its immigration policy in favor of more immigrants during this next Obama administration, I would be fearful that it's going to be attractive for successful Jordanian entrepreneurs to leave. Yes. So I'd say the absence of post-seed venture capital is a very pressing need.
Indeed. Early stage is a big issue. Early stage investment is a big missing issue in the region. Karim, very quickly, what is lacking in your view? And you've been with ICT since its beginning in Jordan. Yeah, can we have audio, please? Yeah.
We have certainly come a long way. We have certainly come a long way during the past 13 years, thanks to His Majesty's leadership and having the government, private sector working in a true partnership that has advanced advanced Jordan well beyond the region. I would focus on two areas that I believe are lacking. One, when it comes to e-commerce, there are many hurdles that companies that start up in the space have to jump over. That I believe some of those issues are being addressed in the partnerships that have been announced, such as payment gateways, to facilitate broader adoption of using electronic payments for this purpose. The other area that I believe Jordan has done well in terms of its creativity and innovation, but I believe there was a lot of cloning, taking concepts from the West that are not available in the region and doing them. But this is not an edge that we can build on, because the global players are looking at this region, and as adoption rates grow, they will be coming in and they'll be competing against those companies that have been set up here. So I believe originality, where are the new ideas? In the concept of intellectual property and protection of IP, whether it's patents or copyrights, it doesn't stop you from taking somebody else's idea, as long as you can introduce novelty, as long as you can build on that idea with something new. So I hope that we can see more originality in this case. But those are the two areas, Osama, that I felt we should focus on.
Okay. Marwan?
Thank you.
What's lacking?
Yeah, what's lacking? Okay, Your Majesty, thank you for your 13 years of support for our sector, basically, before I had my two minutes worth of what's lacking in Jordan. I think if we talk about the IT sector, basically, we have to realize that competition is global and so is opportunity, which means we can't keep comparing Jordan to what's happening around us. We have to look at the very best in the world. So while 60% penetration is fine, I think we have to reach way beyond that in terms of internet penetration. We have to reach every household, every user in Jordan, because everyone should be given the opportunity to participate in what we're doing. It shouldn't be a West Amman thing or an elitist thing. It should become actually the silver bullet, in my opinion, for Jordanians. What's happening, though, we're seeing, though, technology is shifting rapidly. Telcos, all models of doing business have changed. Making money from voice is dying. Making money from SMS is dying. Nowadays, broadband is basically mobility, and broadband is taking over. 90% of traffic on network is becoming driven by video. So we have to ensure that telcos are able to grow, that they're able to prosper, that they're able to make money so they can reinvest in our networks. So it's a very fine balance between what the government coffers need to be addressed and what the government's tax from the sector needs to be addressed, but also they should be allowed to grow, because they should be allowed to, and they should reinvest their money in networks more and more. Kareem alluded to the issue of e-commerce. We have been talking about the e-commerce for quite some time. There are still gaps in the law, and I think it's high time we address them. We keep talking about e-payments. We keep talking about electronic gateways. We keep talking about electronic signature. We keep talking about the gaps in the law. We know what the gaps are. We know what the issues are. I think it's time to address them for us as a country.
And to the point, I mean, the region in e-commerce is 400 times below where it would be proportionally to the rest of the world. 400 times. That's a huge, huge problem and an opportunity, of course. Last quick comment also, please, Ray. What's lacking in your impression, having served at the White House, having done democracy, now democracy.com.
We didn't get paid a lot, but it wasn't that bad.
That's right.
Well, my bias when I first came here was to say what I said a little bit earlier, was the lack of an open dialogue, and obviously that's been happening. So I applaud His Majesty for encouraging this type of discussion, and so I would say there could be a larger role to the extent it's allowed and they want to participate, is the government's role in fostering this innovation. When I was at the White House, I worked with the Office of Social Innovation, which really stepped forward to encourage public-private partnerships. And there was a lot of power at the White House to convene. So you could bring a lot of different players into the room that wouldn't have sat together otherwise for that convening power. So I think there's a lot of convening power within the government. And the last small point is, I would say the only thing lacking is some women on this panel. So maybe more women leaders in this sector.
Okay. We have plenty of women leaders in Oasis 500, actually, more than the proportion in society. Let me move quickly to the second question. If I may ask also if you can bring up the slides where we summarize some of these points. Let me start with opportunities, and I really need you here to be very brief. Top one or top two, we'll start with you, Keith. In your opinion, opportunities for ICT in the region for the audience.
So I already said the one, which is focusing on post-seed stage investment. So I'll focus on my second one, which is, you know, yesterday I used this phrase, man makes history, but not in conditions of his own choosing. And I put some flesh on that today in the keynote when we talked about how mobile is making the world a smaller place in a good way. The fact that Apple has 155 countries available through the App Store that you can ship software to in one day, that Google has 134 countries, and that therefore for the Jordanian entrepreneur who is building computer software, his or her market is not just Jordan. The world market is available to those people through those distribution mechanisms. And so the possibility of the mobile-first software revolution, which is already beginning, being something that Jordanians can take a major role in is quite tangible, quite real, quite possible, as long as the focus is put on it.
Okay. Marwan, top opportunity?
Two, if I may. Again, you want to become a knowledge-based economy, broadband should become a right of every citizen. It's like electricity, like water. It's not a luxury, not a necessity. It must be a right of every citizen, in my opinion. Second, when it comes to e-commerce, Your Majesty, in the past, you've held us accountable back at the REACH days. Again, hold us accountable. We have been talking about e-commerce. There's so many gaps in the law. We need, as government and us as sector, to get them done. So we need to have a clear timetable to get these things done. And just like the Nike slogan is, just do it. We have to get things done. We know what the issues are, basically.
Kareem.
I believe I would go back to the issue of originality and focus on Arabic content. Arabic content is a drop in the ocean on the internet, and I believe that's a huge opportunity given, again, Jordan's education levels, creativity, and innovation. We can do a lot as well in new media, in videos, and so on, and I think Jordan is leading in that space, but we can't take that for granted. We need to do much more. The other area, I think Marwan touched on e-commerce, but I would go into big data. And big data is huge. Usama, you have from your personal experience in data mining, data warehousing. What we need here is to develop the skill sets. Today, luckily, and His Excellency, the Minister of Education is here, all 27 plus universities in Jordan offer IT education. We need those universities to specialize as well, to develop subspecialties in IT, to offer higher degrees. Yes, we have a lot of bachelor degree holders, but how many PhD holders do we have? And those are the types that international companies are looking for when they come to Jordan through partnerships, through transfer of know-how. I believe this is an untapped opportunity that Jordan can certainly excel in.
Right.
Again, speaking from my experience in federal government, the government could obviously put together, infuse cash into certain industries like we did in our first administration around renewable energy, but probably more cost effective would be to develop fellowship programs for young people who want to get into engineering or computers or development and foster them right into jobs, helping use those technologies for their own countries.
So education. I'd like to summarize here, and I'd like to summarize in a non-traditional way because I actually did two things as part of my job as moderator. I actually talked to many of you in the audience and collected the issues. So if we may bring the slides, please. I just wanted to share very quickly. I can't read them from here, so this is going to be a challenge.
Get up. Stand up.
Number one is pick specialized. Can you leave the slides up, please?
Take the podium.
Well, the podium doesn't help. Okay. Is there a mic there? Number one is pick focus areas and decide on those areas. We're going to be the lead in those areas, whatever they are. We mentioned in the opening things like big data, as Kareem mentioned, computer security, network security, understanding the social graph, any of these areas. Pick a few and become center of excellence in those areas. I don't know if this is working. Yeah. Investment in early stage companies. This is basically killing a lot of our ideas that could become real doers in the region. A culture of big companies and government, Your Majesty, working as a requirement, working with local small companies. The only way you're going to enable these small companies is to give them projects. Why go to the, with all my respect and love to the big companies, why go to the big companies if you have local providers who can actually help you and build a local industry? And of course, regulations to facilitate e-commerce, all the way from the laws, the borders, guaranteeing contracts to issues of payment. And it's really about simplifying versus creating new regulation here. And finally, Arabic content and integrating the education with the needs of the market. Our educational system is way late in responding to what the market is needing, to where technology is. After taking these issues and sharing them with our panel, this comes from the audience, by the way, we came up with these recommendations, which were summarized in our talks, and I'd like to leave them up here as a reminder for everyone, and really as a call. Whoop. Is this it? That's not advancing. One more, yeah. As a call for feedback, I'm going to leave them here. And the 4 areas are training in specialized areas. So if we pick specialized areas where we're going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 in the world, we need training there. We need to actually create the talent that understands it. We understand big data better than anybody else in this area, in social graph, in whatever. E-commerce and e-payment issues we talked about. Mobile first, applications and companies, because the future, as we also in broadband, is in mobile. And finally, Arabic content online, especially mobile. I'd like to conclude, on the theme of Marwan saying just do it. This region has seen many waves, or many, as Emil Qubaisi likes to call them, avalanches of trends coming and going. And instead of taking advantage of them, we sort of get buried and start to catch up behind. I'd love to see us emerge from being generic consumers to very specific producers. But Emil actually shared with me a sentence that really I would like to share with you. While we are sitting here for a whole year or a whole month or a whole conference debating what should we be doing about all these opportunities falling on our heads, President Obama in the US is passing a law that's saying, I'm opening up 70,000 new visas for technical talent to come. And guess where most of that talent will come from? Probably areas that make it very hard, as per Keith's point, very hard to start a business here, to prosper here, etc. So we need to really leverage the talent we have and create an environment that allows them to prosper. With that, I'll conclude our panel. I don't know if we have any time for any questions or comments. I'll leave that to the organizers. We may have a time for 1 question or 2 or feedback. Lorraine is raising her hand. I don't know if we have a mic. And then we'd conclude. Okay, women in the ICT sector, absolutely. Any other? Okay, with that, thank you for attending, and please send feedback on these points. We'd like to create an agenda out of these items. We think the opportunity is huge. Thank you, panelists, for your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Osama? Dr. Osama Fayyad? Thank you, Dr. Osama Fayyad. Thank you to our panelists. And with this, on behalf of Intaj, the organizers, and our partners, the Ministry of ICT and IJMA, Your Majesty, I'm delighted to invite you to visit the MENA ICT Expo, which is taking place downstairs in conjunction with our forum, where we're showcasing some of the brightest minds from the region and where they are showcasing their ideas and innovations. Thank you, Your Majesty. Can I ask everyone to remain seated while the royal procession leaves the hall? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are we've come to the end of the MENA ICT Forum 2013, supported by USAID, presented in partnership with the Ministry of ICT and IJMA, the Arab ICT organization. The race is on. We have our action items ahead of us, in front of us. So when we meet again in 2 years, we're going to have an opportunity to look at how well we've done against these KPIs. A big thank you to our sponsors and partners, our industry association partner, the Palestinian Information Technology Association of Companies, PITA, our telecom sponsors, Orange, Umnia, and Zain, our gold sponsor, D1G.com, silver sponsors, IBM and MENA iTech, bronze sponsor, Escadinia Software. Our partners include the King Abdullah II Fund for Development, the Jordan Gaming Lab, Knowledge Partners, Talal Abu Ghazali Organization, and Booz & Co. Advisory partners, Sanad Law Group with Eversheds and Crow Horwath. Research partner, Arab Advisors Group. Official automotive sponsor, Nuql Group. Official airline, Royal Jordanian, as well as our community partners, Oasis 500, WAMDA, Endeavor Jordan, Amman Tech Tuesdays, Nahwe, iPark, ArabNet, Arabia Fast Growth 500, and the Social Media Club. I'm Wajih Halawa. Thank you very much for attending. Good luck.